Welcome to this Zentangle Quickie. My name is Heather Hartwick Gladden. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher. And today we're going to take a look at the Tangle Auseklis from CZT Rita Nikolajeva. Hoping, fingers crossed, that I pronounced that right. Rita, if you ever watch this video, you make sure to leave in the comments for me if I got it even close. So this is a really, really neat tangle. And as I was nosing through some tangles, deciding what did I want to do, what did I want to try, and this one just stood out. All right. And one of those words like, oh, how hard is that going to be? Oh, well, let's just try. And so that's what we do. All right. So this starts off with an asterisk. And an asterisk, it's the symbol on, on a keyboard. So it starts off with a straight line, whatever direction you want, and then a cross through that. So making like a plus sign, and then doing it again, but on the diagonal. So essentially subdividing through that side, and the other side, being very careful to hit the center of that. Sometimes I'm good and sometimes I'm not. And actually, just a hint, if you have trouble, if you're like crossing the whole expanse of that and always missing, because that's what I would always do. Going slow helps, number one, but then the other thing that I have done in the past is starting in that intersection and going out to either side. So that's a thought as well, if that's something that gives you a challenge. Now, here is something that as I was doing this, I'm like, this is similar. Sort of. It starts off similar. I mean, there are several that start off with an asterisk like this. But if not too, I think it was in the last few videos that I have shared, there's one called Afterglow. And so Afterglow starts off like this, and then we draw straight lines from each spoke like into the center, making like a V. And if I was to call that concave, this would be convex. So it's similar, but it's similar but opposite. So what we're going to do is we're going to do two straight lines going out the other direction. Okay, so going to the outside. Now, what I found in looking at this is, and here's what helped me, and I share it because it's what helped me. If it helps you, great. If not, there's different ways that we can do it. So what I found helped is I'm picturing this is the bottom of the diamond, and then kind of eyeballing, this is me eyeballing with the pen, right? And I'm going to kind of, I don't always put a point here, but this is just for part of the demonstration. So then my eyeball goes here, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take from that line, or that little dot, and I'm going to then do a straight line to either of those spokes that are already existing. What I was doing was, just drawing, straight up lines, going up and then maybe going up this way, but drawing them from the spokes first and not thinking about the point that I want it to come out to. And it seemed like then they ended up a little squattier, and that kind of threw the pattern off a little bit. So I just share that, play with it. And if, let me know if this has helped you, but try it, whatever way that works for you. And yes, and let us know in the comments. But this is what I found for me. And then it also seems to help with, so if I'm only focusing on this V, that's the bottom of the diamond, and then eyeballing, okay, where is it going to look, where is it going to have a nice, what do I want to say, like elongated diamond, so that way when we're looking at it on the side, and I don't know, there's probably a more proper term for that, but that's what I'm thinking. So I want them to be more longwise like this. And then two, so, and if some of your, the spokes are off or a little uneven, it does seem to kind of help with that. Like I said, so if I was just going up, I don't have this point here. And so I was just, I don't know, like I said, I found it, when I was doing it the other way, just to be frustrating. And not happy with my results. And it's like, what we want to be is we want to be happy with our results. And while we have I guess that's what I feel somewhat my job is, because it's like we can have the step outs, but it really does help to, oh gosh, look how neat that looks. It helps to kind of talk through these things and you know, well, here's what works for me, what might work for you, and the actual, you know, doing of seems to help. And then too, well, actually, I'll go into this in a minute. Let me get to this next step. But I'm just like, woo, that looks really neat. Now, I do believe that I have seen this in quilt patterns. So if you're a quilter, well, actually, in the description section, of course, I will have my step out, as well as, you know, for more inspiration, tangle patterns, because there's some other things, because they call this an 8-pointed star, or like a double star or something, and there's some interesting information on there that, you know, it's like, if you want to read, then you can. But I swear I've seen this in on quilts before. Now, the next step from here is we're going to elongate, so these lines that we already did, and this is another point where I kind of question, well, how far should I really go with that? And it seems like, well, no, you know, it seems like about even with this, but you have to kind of picture it in the circle. But if you picture it like I just did, and I'm picturing, oh, here's a V. Oh, is that a nice and even V if I'm looking at it this way? Oh, in this way. So we don't want to have too much planning, but as you draw the line, see the two bottoms of those diamonds that you're going to create. Well, this one went a little bit wonky, but we can make that right just like that. And that kind of, to me, it helped to gauge how long should this line be. Because if it's too long, then it throws off kind of the angle of this. And again, not that it necessarily matters, because like all things Zentangle, you know, it all works out great in the end once the pattern is done. All right. So once you've gone all the way around with those, then it's the same thing that we've done in the center. So, and again, going one by one. So, you know, it's like, okay, here's my V. I'm going to make the, you know, we're going to just, I'm focusing on making this kind of a diamond and just working my way around. And again, so, you know, finding the point, finding the V, and then kind of working with, you know, whatever angle it's at. That's what we want. Now, some of these, when I start stacking them like this, then I'm seeing, like, this looks like a book, you know, and it's like, no, just stay focused. This is me talking to me. Stay focused on just that diamond. Don't worry about anything else. And then we move to the next one. And it's like, again, it's just like, okay, here's the point. I'm going to put this one about up here, and then I'm going to connect it. And as we're stacking them, make sure to be careful of where you're connecting. So like this one, as you see, it's connected here, not, you know, anywhere else, but right here on that intersection. We're connecting to the top of the spoke. But because this one, we've already connected it with the previous, we just need to connect it at that same point. So that's the intersection. Okay, so again, just focusing in, keeping your attention on that. Where do you want the end, you know, the tip to be? And starting your lines coming from there. And then just moving around, focusing in on just creating that diamond as you move around. Now, what this does, as I've been rereading some of Rick and Maria's books, this really, and then see, then when you get to these wonky ones, and it's like, well, this is where it kind of helps. So again, picturing that diamond, because one of the things that they say is, you know, of course we don't pre-plan in Zentangle, you know, so like no grids and all of that kind of thing. This is just free form, you know, pen on paper and go. Except for, you know, the four corner string, you know, all of that. There is that pre stuff, but it's a little different than their meaning of pre-planning. So not on grid paper, stuff like that. But one of the other things that they mentioned is not having any expectation on the outcome. So this exemplifies that. So as you work on this and you just stay focused on, okay, I'm looking at this V, I'm going to start up here, and you just picture, it's almost like picturing this, if you can, you know, in your head, flip it up here so that way you're doing your best to kind of mirror image that, and then starting your lines, and then just moving to, okay, here's the next V, here's my point, and that's it, and just keeping working around. And then, because as you notice, when I finished that first round, it was just like, oh my gosh, look at how cool that looked. And this is exactly what they mean by that. Not having any expectation in mind, just following the steps as they're laid out, focusing in on each step individually and just the repetition of them, and not worrying about what the pattern is going to look like in the end. And that is exactly what this pattern does, especially if you're just, like I said, as I have said over and over, as I'm doing it because I'm talking to myself, focus on the V. All right, let's put the line. And I am like totally impressed at myself. Wow, that looks really, really cool. All right. So with that, that's essentially it. And then you can just, keep repeating the last couple steps, extending the line. So if you want to add layers, extend the line out. And then same thing as we just did, work all the way around it, focusing in on those V's and, doing the other side. And you just continue for as long as you feel you want to do it. Now, when you're done, then you get to decorate however you might want to decorate. And actually, I have one that I was playing with that I have already sort of decorated. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do with this is maybe leaving it just empty. But I don't know. Oh, you know what? I'll do what I did, because then you can also see differences in shading. So I've talked myself into it. All right. So decorating is completely up to you. What I did was, and this was on Rita's, on her blog, and I will share that link so you can see it. And I love this figure. So just a straight line coming up from the center. Actually, I'm going to do this one throughout because I thought it looked neat on her pattern where she did that in all of the little diamonds. So just coming out from the center, I find it easier to come from the center, kind of out sort of towards the middle, but that's up to you how long of a line you want. And just put a little orb on the end, like so. And then, let me just take a peek here, because I think that, oh yeah, okay, I was thinking right. And then same thing from the center of that diamond. So in whatever angle that's at. But you can, like I said, there are a plethora of ways to decorate this, and that is, whatever strikes you. Or, like I said, you don't have to decorate at all. You could just, you could use colors and color in different sections. And as I mentioned, I mean, this is kind of a quilty looking to me. And if you drew it big enough, you could even, or if you're really good at drawing really super small, you could even, incorporate some other tangles in these little sections that we've created. That could be kind of neat. All right, because I did think that was really cute how she did that. And so some ways to shade are, number one, let's see. Well, I did it before. I'll do this again. Kind of coming around the outside, and I'm just going to do this light because I do want it just to be like a light bit of a shadow. And then I'll use the tortillon, of course, to spread it out a little bit. But these are so much fun to. I don't know. I will stop doing Zentangle the minute that I stop being amazed with that I could do this with my hand. Because if I ever become not like oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, then it just means that I'm done. And I just love that about this, is because the not being an artist, not ever feeling like I could draw stick people to save my life. Feeling like through this I have conquered art class in high school. I had all of these great ideas, but could never quite get them from my head, to anything that mattered. And my mom being, she has a degree in art education, and she's absolutely amazing. And those of you that have been on my classes, and And it's funny because we have different takes on things. And so I've been working on my, like I'm creative. There's a difference, I think, in my mind of being creative and being artistic. And artistic in my mind, as I'm shading this in, and mine as well, yap while I'm shading it, or using my tortillon to spread this out, right, is about being able to like translate something in your head or something you see, and to, replicate it on paper. And this is just, beautiful because it's like, well, it's steps. And so we're able to replicate these really cool patterns because some, brilliant people, made great step outs. Okay. So isn't that that's just gorgeous? You know what? I think I'm going to leave this one. I think I'm going to leave this one like this. I think, and then I think, well, maybe not. So I've had some folks on our Facebook's and Tangle group, Tangle Addicts group, that have talked about. I just never quite sure what to do and when to shade and all of this. So here's a thought. So I'm looking at it. I'm going. It's just screaming to me that this center needs to just pop out. So to make that pop out is the same way I did to make the whole thing pop out. But we'll make the center pop out on top of those, that second layer. And I'm going to do that by, I'm just going to add about the same amount of graphite to that, just going on the outside of that original layer. And, however dark you go, that just adds more contrast and adds, even more depth. So that's up to you. I like to add it in increments. And I think I will start because then I will, because I'll show you on this other tile that I did, just some other ideas. But, the idea of shading is that it's entirely up to you. And if you always take a look at it afterwards and just see, what it seems to say to you. To sound a little bit crazy. Oh, see, that looks neat. And as you can see, it kind of pops that center up above that second layer, and it's just really, really cool. And if I do it darker, then it'll pop it even more, and that's just such a really neat effect. All right, so with that, let me show you. This is another tile that I did, and on here, I did the same shading. But then I also decided to, and I did this in steps. So I did this line here because I decided to do just some straight lines on, one side of these pair here, and I did that same side consistently around. But so I knew first off that I wanted to make that so that way this looks like it's folding down in this, like this is the center. And it's folded down in the center. And then I thought, well, what would it look like if, I also did the same thing into the center. And so it gives it some movement, and that's just kind of cool. But I wanted you to, this way you can kind of see the difference. Some of it does matter because of using the little straight lines here. It adds, let me turn that way, there we go. It adds to the motion. But just from that shading, you can kind of see. So I wanted to share that with you. So, as I mentioned, in the description section, step outs, more information, also ways to connect with me. I do some free classes and I do some paid classes. My website link is on there. I do have you can find a page on classes on my webpage. There I share links to the free classes on there, and I do my best to, I keep them updated. As soon as I have the links, then I put them up there. So I'm doing free classes, sessions, I'm calling them, every Thursday. You don't know what you're going to get, what you're going to get when you come to a Tangle Time on Thursday, because I just pick out a Tangle or two, whatever we can do within an hour's time or so, an hour or less. Sometimes I stay on and gab afterwards, but that part is on me. But, one Tangle, two Tangles, who knows, and you never know what you're going to get, and a lot of times, most times, Mom joins me, and we have fun. I never tell her what we're doing ahead of time, so that's extra fun. And then, like I said, I have some paid classes, and all of that information is on the website. So I would love to have you join us sometime. links to that and other ways to connect, say via Facebook. That's where I spend most of my time. Unfortunately, I do need to work on getting on Instagram more. That will come at some point. But if you like the video, thumbs up are greatly, greatly appreciated. As well as if you haven't subscribed yet and would like to, see more content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. And if you do, make sure to hit the notification bell so you can decide how you want to be notified, if you want to be notified at all. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this. It's a super fun tangle and really, really neat looking. Feel free to leave some comments. Yeah, and quilters, I want to know if that's a pattern. I would love to know the name of it. And I think that's it. So I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you happy tangling.